right, it's recording. Hello, welcome in Beating Low Stakes with verse 8. It might be actually the last episode from this series, as we will be talking about raises for value and for bluff today. And we actually did almost every position with basic game plan and basic adjusts. So it was heads up small blind, heads up big blind, and all the freeways, except the small blind versus button, because it's not very interesting and it's not very worth like reviewing too much. In general, the rule in freeway small blind versus button is to shove most of your range versus an open from the button, and only versus fish call your Broadway heads. So it's pretty simple and it's not much to analyze. Like, hello Jack. So yeah, today we're gonna do these raises, and from next time I was thinking about making another series with other I was thinking about making it with other coaches like Jack as well, like Siuet, and just to make a series from opportunities like for example, heads up big blind probe and everything about that, and it's episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. So it's kind of similar of what we're gonna do today. So this raises so different lines, different approaches, different opportunities as a one episode. And I have this thing in my mind, as it's not gonna be done only by me, I think, but from other crushers as well. And I think that it will be something that's really, really worth it. But today, let's focus on Crush Fest and Adjust Fest are like our main core. Also, we are working right now with Demonica on simplifying everything, all the rules that we have, all the updates that we had in the past, and we want to like make a simplified Crush Fest as well for every position. But in the meantime, there are a lot of opportunities that are that we face in different positions as well. So it's kind of approach of positional, and then there's opportunities or lines or something like that, because it's more or less similar quite often. So yeah, but more about that in the future. This is something that just popped into my mind today. So yeah, about raising for value. This is the main raising that we should do. More about it later, but out of position, we should fast play our hand almost always. Maybe there are some exceptions, like here in this slide, that on ace XX boards, when we face a c-bet from a rec, that he has a tendency of barreling 60% on the turn and 70 on the river. Probably if we have ace 7-3 and we have 7-3, we shouldn't ever raise against such an opponent, but just call again on the turn, call again on the river, no matter what run out it will be. But in general, whenever we have value hand and we face a bet, we should raise. There are like few reasons. Of course, we want to get value from the guy who's betting. If he's betting, he's telling us that he has something. Second part is that from poker meta game, after we check call, we should check again on the turn. So we give an opportunity to our opponent to check, and we don't really want it when we have a value hand. So in general, whenever we have a good hand, as we were always saying, we want to squeeze value as fast as possible from our opponent. And it changes a bit when we start to have sample on some opponents on high stakes, and we can, mix in some different approaches to some lines, some different plays. Sometimes we can check call, but in general, whenever we have a good hand, we raise. Yeah, about sizing, it's about 3x on dry boards and 3x to 4.4, 4.5x on wet. It's not very detailed here because the main reason is that what matters is SPR and our opponent. So if we are playing versus fish, we can actually raise for value as big as we want. So it's like 4.5x, it's fine, especially if it will make the pot big enough to, for example, shove the river and not leave ourselves like 1.4 SPR on the turn. And it's especially on wet boards because yeah, we would like to get it in with our bottom two pairs, for example, on the turn rather than free barrel and let our opponent realize his equity more. And yeah, if someone is not barreling too much, we can also raise in position. There are guys that like hate raising, hate folding versus raises. They bet and they feel offended that someone raised them, and that's why we should always raise for value. And in position, when we're in position, so we face a donk or we face a c-bet from small blind when we are on the big blind freeway. Then we should just we can raise if they're not barreling too much, and most of the time still if we're in position it's good to just call the players. Yeah. On the river, we raise big folds, big sizings, mostly overbet all-ins, and the reason is simple. They mostly have good hands in their big sizings and a bit weaker hands in their smaller sizings. So whenever they bet like 70% plus, it's usually polarized range. So it's either a bluff or a good value hand. So if it's a good value hand that we have like very good value or nuts, then we can easily like shove versus someone and see if it works. If they tank fold, for example, versus our shove, then we can note it TF like tank fold. It means that he is a hero folder. And next time we can raise with a smaller sizing and check it this way. The most important thing is that like raising and choosing specific sizings and moments to do it is based on some sample usually, and versus a random fish we just raise for value. So yeah. For a small bet size, we first have to determine what do we target and then choose sizings. Yeah, so when someone bets small, we have to see from his line if it was a bet check bet, if it was a prop and bet, etc., etc. If it was prop river, how many top pairs does he has? Does he have any top pairs? Like what are we targeting? What is the board like? For example, Jack, 8, 5, 5, and he's betting really small. Like he looks like an 8. So what sizings should we choose there? Should we be polarized or like bet a bit smaller? It all depends on the kind of opponents. But usually when they bet smaller, we also want to raise smaller for value, like 90 maybe. And when they bet big, we can also bet 90. I was 3xing. I meant 3xing because I had in my mind that someone bet 30, so we bet 90. Hey, yeah, so 3xing is like a smallish. And when someone bets big, then 3.5 or 4x is fine. Yeah, it's often better to donk bet river rather than check raising. Check raising is good when we suspect our opponent to have a good hand. So yeah, if we see someone betting half pot on the flop, for example, there's an overcard on the turn, and he's betting 80%. And then we are like not sure that he hit this overpair, because the Rex will do it very often with some draws as well. But it's possible that his hand got better, and that he's gonna barrel again on the river. Then it's fine to check raise rather than donk bet, because donk betting will get folds from his draws, so his bluffs, and also smaller value when someone is betting the stop pair and, for example, bet calling it on the river. And when we donk bet, we just get this, less big blinds for sure. And yeah, what else did I wrote here? Sometimes we want to raise nuts, even in position for our spot size bet sizings. Yeah, I have an example here. I had a coaching today with Turtle Lotter from Italy, and we had the spot that there was 5 deuce deuce board. He has ace deuce on the big blind, and he faced pot size c-bet. So usually, yeah, we got a pot size and we got trips. We should probably just call to let someone barrel, etc., etc. But in reality, when there's a flush draw, there are a lot of cards that could kill the action. He might have some 5x's in his range, like king 5, ace 5. He's never folding that. Some pocket pairs, because he 3x pre-flop as well. So some pocket pairs, 6s, 7s, 8s, etc., etc. So there are so many cards on turns and rivers that can kill the action. Like if he has 9s and the jack of this flush draw comes on the turn, and the river is a queen, and his 9s aren't that happy to bet pot again, right? And they would definitely call. They would definitely call on the flop. So yeah, this is important to remember as well. And this is again something against slow playing. Although when we get pot size and we have trips, of course, or straight, of course, often it's not worth to raise. But there are some specific situations, especially on low boards, when there will be action killers on turns and rivers. So we have to think about that too. Okay, raising for bluff on the river. I chose only river to analyze, because we have big blind crush fest, we have check raises with backdoors, with top pairs, blah blah blah. We have donk bets on turns. So the most important thing is, can we and when can we raise the river for bluff? So yeah, we lately had a coaching on a high stakes group as well, that on a Polish high stakes group, and we were talking with you about concepts of raisings and raisings on the raising on the river and when to do it, and we had some after 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, we found out what are the best lines to raise on the river, and those are second barrel river, or first bet river, or probe river. So it means that someone probe and bet, delay and bet, or probed river, so delay probe, and yeah, those are the lines that are very good to check raise. It's simple because simply because there's a lot of bluffs and weak showdown, and we more merged value range, not polarized. Because if someone checks on the flop, delays on the turn, and bets again on the river, he more often has a second or third pair or bluff than he has top pairs. So this is important to remember, that those are the lines that are good to raise. Good spot to raise for bluff is against guys who are able to thin value bet. So they are able to bet 60%, for example, with third pair because they know we are bluff catchy, blah blah blah, and they have like the best kicker to their third pair, so they just bet it for value, and the aggressive opponents as well. So the red tendencies in our hat. And bet spot to raise for bluff is against passive tight guys, so green tendencies, and yeah, against such opponents we should be like more careful against river aggression, as we will win against them a lot anyway. So bluff catchy guys, low one showdown after call on the river, and like the opposite of the able to fin value bet. So a guy that doesn't have fin value bets, or low fold versus bet in given opportunity. So for example, low fold versus raise on the river, or low fold versus probe. We shouldn't probe then with bluff too much. We should think about some other concept to exploit someone. If one doesn't work, we have to move to other street, maybe to other play, maybe some fixing some check raises, maybe we can cut our range a bit. Like there are plenty of options, but raising, as this is the last point, actually I will go back to this in a moment, but raising for bluff on the river is our last weapon. When we cannot exploit someone on earlier streets and on some different lines, different strategies, and he's just, it's super hard to play versus him. He's always betting on the river. Then it's a place to start using raising for bluff, because it's pretty hard to call raises on the river. It costs a lot always. So against someone who is like, if they have 70% bet on the river, it's impossible that they have value always. And if we cannot call them because, for example, again and again we find ourselves in a spot that we bricked, or we have fourth pair that it's probably worse than this guy who fin value bets a lot, then raising on the river is an answer, but only then. Earlier we have so many things like some people over folding versus probes, not c-betting enough, folding versus one bet too much, folding versus river bet a lot, etc., etc. So we have so many easier options to adjust to our opponents, that this raising for bluff is only in special occasions. Yeah. So we generally want to find spots where the pot is big and our opponent has a lot of bluffs. So this high percentage of bets on the river, and possibly quite a big pot, it's great to raise for us. Versus opponents who doesn't fin value bets, we want to raise small with a small sizing for bluff. We want to raise with a small sizing. Yeah, this small twice is wrong. We want to raise with a small sizing for bluff. But he has to bet his at least 50% of his range. So it means that if he doesn't have fin value bets, so he check backs second pair, third pairs, etc. on the river a lot, then we have to figure out if he checks them so much, and let's say his river bet is still over 50%, then it means that he has a lot of bluffs in his range as well. So when we know that someone is not fin value betting and he still bets a lot on the river, it means that maybe sometimes the pot is 250, he bets 150, and maybe we can raise him just 2x him, and maybe it will work. We have to try it, because from those stats it means that he actually should fold versus this very small sizing. So we don't really have to raise huge, wrapping nuts all the time. Yeah, small risk, big reward, exactly. So let's say the pot is 100, someone is betting 70. We have blockers to flush, we have blockers to straight, and we have 400 chips left. Raising 400 with those blockers against 70 bet into 100 is like a huge mistake, because the reward is so small and the risk is so big. And if we want to decide for a bluff in this spot, let's start with 240, 250. We don't necessarily have to bet 400, especially that sometimes with value we could also bet a bit smaller. Yeah, if we have a tank folder as our opponent, for example. So yeah, that is it. That is it from those simple things. I made a filter in my poker tracker where I have raises made on the river from last week. I'm not sure if there will be something interesting, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully those raises are mainly focused on value hands, because bluff hands are, as we were talking, not that important, and we shouldn't use that very often. So yeah, let's go. If you have any questions, of course, always ask on the chat, and I'll open this one. This one. Okay. All right. So yeah, they're like pretty standard to see, but although with such hand, I'm super happy to just check back with overcard, backdoor straight draws, flash draw, and ace high showdown value plus draw. It's fine to just check. I actually prefer it. Here I think I should bet to deny equity. I see that I decided to check. It's not a big mistake because we still have showdown value. We'll win often enough. Also, our flash draw is very hidden, but we don't. We are not building a pot for the situation where we hit, and also we let them realize their equity to catch a pair with hands like 8-6, 8-7, or whatever. So betting here is better. Yeah. And now facing this small bet, it's a mandatory raise. He can have a worse ace because we don't split with all the aces. We have a jack as a kicker. He can have a 9, a 4. So definitely a raise. And yeah. Okay. And here, again, the reward for calling is like risk to call is so big. Actually, how much did we invest in the pot? It's 30 big blinds, so 60 is already in the pot, so 2 big blinds. It's like 5 or 6 big blinds we actually invested, and now we have to add to this 20 big blinds to win. So this is a guy we don't know, so he's probably not a wreck. Why then I don't see a reason to call here. Like don't be very harsh to yourself, Sobus. I actually call here a lot here too, but it's a huge mistake because there are just no bluffs. Sometimes if we are playing versus some super crazy guy, he can show, I don't know, ace-5 here, because yeah, he hit the river, we didn't bet. But in general, it's just the queen. So I hope I folded, but it happens that we tend to call here. But see at my card here what I have written: pain of discipline, and it's here in front of me when I'm playing, because I heard some TEDx once. They told us that we can choose. We have two types of pain: pain of regret or pain of discipline. So in some moment, we can like feel this pain for being disciplined and for yeah, I can't do it, and yeah, it's painful because yeah, I want to call, right? But on the other hand, there is a pain of regret. So we call and we are like, fuck, I knew it. Like, why did I call? And at the end of the day, the pain of regret is like far more superior. So I try to choose pain of discipline every day in whatever I do. So I really recommend you, Sobus, to write this card, pain of discipline. All right, I hope I voted. I voted. All right. Okay, standard. C-bet, dry board, small sizing. I see a lot of reasons to check here. First of all, we won't go broke if he has a free. Second of all, we can induce him bluffing on the river as a probe with hands like Jack 9 or Queen 9 or whatever. And yeah, there are not too many cards that we are afraid of. Of course, he can have some straight draw, but still, I really like the check. And here, versus such a small size, obviously we will be raising. And again, what sizing could you guys use here? What we talked earlier about those small sizings, and that we have to choose the sizing, what to target. Okay, so 130, 150, 160, 180, 200 for X. Yeah, when I'm when I'm thinking about the spot right now, what do we target here? We target weak king and a 10. So maybe we should be a bit more polarized. Uh, like we still can have a missed draw, right? Right? If he has a king 8, for example, he's never folding to any raise. Maybe if we raise all in, I don't know, he maybe would fold. But if he has a 10-8, not blocking the straight draws, maybe he would decide to call anyway. So I think that 190, 200, even 220 might be good here. I think that I chose 165, so it was like kind of standard, raise for value. But thinking about it, as Clotter said as well, some random guy won't see any difference with a raise between 80 chips. So when we have this very static calling range from his side, the board is like very dry. Then I think that going for a polarized sizing should be better. And I think that we should go around 200 here. I agree with that. 200 to even bigger, Yeah. Okay, nothing to do here. Okay, that's better. All right, small sizing with draw and 2 overcards. Kind of a nice board. Fold equity is low, so I don't want to bet big. I just want to realize my equity cheaply. Few options here. I don't mind just betting 50 again, and I think it's the best option because 4 doesn't change much, and he didn't raise on the flop, so he doesn't have a lot of nines. Yeah, so I don't expect him to raise me often right now. So betting 50, I think, is better. It's better than checking because, of course, we can call versus actually any bet if we check. But right now we set the price. We set it like 50, and maybe if we check, we don't know the guy. We've only played 3 hands against him. He's aggressive. Maybe his standard sizing to float is pot size, right? So what do we do versus the pot size? We are like, meh, check raise all in, check call. I should bet 50. Yeah, so betting 50 here, I think, is the reason I decided to check. Actually, he bet 50, but betting again here is better with a small sizing to obviously realize equity. And here I don't see any reason to donk because I would fold him out of everything that's not a 5, and a 5 would bet himself. And maybe there's still some draws that missed, like 10-7, 8-7. Like there are a few that can bet themselves. So I have like no intention in donking here. So this is a spot where donking is worse than check raising. Because we fold a lot with our donk, and we will get value from hands from bluffs and hands that are value in his range that are worse than ours. So this is exactly the spot to check raise, and yeah, it's what happened, and he folded. So he might have had some bluffs here. And after we bet on the turn and the river is like this, do we bet again or we check? I still think that usually when you have value against fish, it's usually better to just bet. But here, what do you guys think? Would you bet here? If yes, then what sizing? If it was like barreled, we barrel 50, and now we have opportunity to free barrel. Would you bet here? And if yes, what sizing? Or would you check to let him bet? What do you guys think? Yeah, yeah, I agree with you that betting here like 80 or 90 is better because as Chappie said, he will check back a lot of his 9s and 6s. So yeah, I agree. Because like 5s are not very like superior part of his range. Also, there's our 8-7s, but we block some of the draws like 10-8 and 7s. So yeah, mostly we would like to bet small to get value from pairs. I agree. Okay, nice board, nice turn. I think betting's like 1/3 here is good. Not too small to get value, but not too big to be able to make all of his gut shots call. So yeah, and here like a perfect river. I remember this hand was pretty funny because he folded. But yeah, it's perfect because it feels like he has a flash. Okay. All right. If the flop is rainbow, do we prefer? Oh, still betting. 8-6, yeah, still betting. He still can call something. Also, when the board pairs on the turn, it doesn't change much in our opponent's eyes if he has like a king 10 or king queen. So, and yeah, flush draws are such a big part of his range. It's like few percent actually. So yeah, this we get an opportunity to bet versus miss c-bet, so we take it. We get raised, no need to do anything else but calling. And now he checks. Of course, we don't want to bet because he can have a lot of kings, some queens probably, maybe jack 10. He can have draws better than us. He can have some aces, maybe, but not too much. So yeah, mainly kings, some jack 10s as well, and better draws as well. So with aces, maybe he can have like ace jack, and now decides to do ace jack of spades, for example, and decides to check because he don't know what to do because his hand is so good, and they tend to slow play sometimes when they hit too well. So we check back, we hit, and versus sizing over 50%, it's obviously an all-in here. If he would bet 40, for example, I would think about like betting 150 to target his king x, 140, 150. This would be a spot to choose a smaller sizing versus a smaller bet, but yeah, as played with this runout and his sizing, of course it's an all-in, and we got a call from the king. So he check raised with king. All right, there are two options actually. We can bet and we should bet. We should bet because his fold versus one bet is so big here, and his prop river is so big here. It's 3 out of 7, but still, it's a mistake. Okay, he bets 60. Should we raise or call? His props are quite big, so I think that we still can raise here. Maybe he has something like 7-3 or whatever, 6-3, jack. Jack probably not, but 4-3. Well, I don't see him as being particularly strong here. Yeah, that's actually correct. This is actually correct that he's 80 and 60 here. So it tells us a lot. And yeah, I agree. I think you're right. He looks super tight. So maybe I was just yeah, because I remember raising him to act because it's probably from today morning, I think. And I remember it because I made a huge spas here because he clicked me, and I was like, oh my god, I have 22% odds. Is he ever clicking me back with a 5? At least one out of 5 times, and I was like, yeah, maybe. Yeah, cool. And yeah, with this guy, as you're right, that he's very, very tight, and I think that versus 3/4 bet on such a wet board with everything going on there, calling is better there. Yeah, I agree. Agreed. Yeah, a pair we call. Okay, first of all, he's some kind of super maniac. So it's actually the reddest, the most red hat I've seen in my life. Uh, yeah, it's like I was like this in game as well. I remember it was like yesterday, I think. So whenever I have a pair, probably I just have to call, I guess, and maybe I could even raise all in here with this 5, but probably never fold because what the fuck, dude? What's going on here? Like everything is going on here. It's like I never seen anything like that. Fold versus 1, but 0-0 versus second barrel. It's actually 50s. It's actually 50s. And yeah, I called, I hit, and yeah, definitely we are strong enough to raise here for bluff, for value. What am I saying? Like he's doesn't have too much behind, but he can have 1 pair hands or whatever. So yeah, this time he had set of 6s, but yeah, $2 for the charity, Chappy. All right. Again, very similar spot to this ace-10, although now the fold equity is a bit bigger, so we are not expecting too many floats. Maybe you could bet just 1 BB here. And yeah, that's what I did now. What I wanted to do with ace-10 earlier, that we should bet small to, 1 overcard, flash draw, realize our equity. So I bet like, is it 1.5 big blinds. It's enough in my opinion, and we got a sweet raise that we can call, and we know that if we hit we will probably get great value. We of course do, and I don't see a reason as well here although now I see a reason to donk. Well, with this kind of hand that we have ace high, so showdown value, and there are still a lot of draws on the board. I don't want to put maximum pressure on the guy, but I want to hit an ace or a diamond on the river and pay for it 70%, 17%. So no, I prefer to bet really small here with such a good draw. And he raised us on the turn. He called on a flop. It's like very possible that he has a king, and if he's any kind of guy that see, oh wow, it's a flash, I'm never betting my king 3 or king 7 or whatever, then checking here is a huge mistake on the river, and I think that we should donk bet here like 60%, 50, 60%, maybe even 60, 70%, like 180, 190, to get a call from a king here, because what else raises here? If he raised some draw, like 10-9, queen 10, whatever, then he probably has showdown value right now. So yeah, checking here is a mistake. We should donk bet 190 here. Yeah, we got lucky, and okay. Okay, interesting. So yeah, definitely donk betting here is the way to go. All right, this is probably a reg. Yeah, block bet and free bet 2 pairs. Interesting. Okay, definitely we have to call. he probes this amount of time. He's pretty aggressive. One shot after bet, pretty small, so he can be doing it with 5-6 even, or yeah. Let's see if he has some fold versus delays. We don't have an opportunity yet, but yeah, definitely has to call, and we get a small sizing on the river. He can have a jack for sure. Can he have a 9? I don't think so. He would bet bigger on the river, in my opinion. Can he have a straight? No, I don't think so. Like, this sizing is so small that the only thing that he can have here, I think, it's a jack. And other than that, if we decide to call three quarters here and the jack is on the turn, then if he has anything good other than a jack, he would bet big, as he is a reg as well, because he knows that we have a lot of jacks actually in this line. So I like to raise him here because I think that he's full of shit. Maybe with an ace high we can even just call him, but the problem is here with a 7 that can bet like this. So this is the spot that he looks capped and he bets small. The pot is quite big, so we don't have to risk a lot to win much. We'll probably be raising like 4x here, so betting 200 to win 400. So, and I think that we have 50% folding equity for sure. So yeah, I decided to raise, and he folded here. So this is actually the first raise for Bluff we saw, and it's from my whole week. So it's like 400 games maybe. And it means that, as we were saying, mostly we want to use it for Bluff, and against guys whose tendencies are hard and they're usually betting, we can start using this. So everything makes sense from this hand review so far, fortunately, or not. All right, I don't see a reason to raise here. Of course, we have a 4 of spades, but it's still a flash draw plus overcard. So I'm just calling here again. And this is very similar spot, like he's betting 20. We have no showdown value here for sure, because he has a pair, at least a pair here. And we decide to raise here because I still think that even if his tendency of donking this 1BB, 1BB, 1BB might be, he might be doing it very often. So, but I still think that they tend to size it up a bit more on the river when they donk, but 1BB on the flop, 1BB on the turn, and if they hit, they usually bet higher on the river. At least, you know, like half pot. So I decided to raise, and I don't want to raise too small because I don't want him to call a jack, a 9, an 8. I suppose I won't fold out a queen anyway, so I don't want to be like very polarized as well, like betting 200 or something. But I think that this is like a solid sizing. I get called, he had a 10, so I wasn't right about this 1BB, 1BB half pot. But then I can write a note that that his third barrel with nuts actually is 1BB. C-bet here is fine, but yeah, I prefer C-bet. I have a tendency to check more. I raise quite a lot on turns and sometimes reverse as well, because I have this checking tendency. But in general, this is a bet on the flop. Here, no reason to raise. We have 2 overcards, not flush draw, and yeah, and good odds. And here's the same spot as with ace king, and we want, but now we look more like an ace here than we looked like a king earlier. So I don't want to size up very big. I don't want to bet like 150, but I want to target this 8 or 7 that he might have and bet like 100, 110, I think. Yeah, 90 even. Probably I chose it to have a 2-digit number, not 3 digits. So yeah, and 8. Okay. I probably decided to check because he has some tendency for being aggressive and he folds a lot versus 1 bet. Yeah, prop, no sample, but yeah. Here I think I should bet, and I should bet pot, looking for some spade draws, some kings, king axes, some lost tens as well, and some straight draws maybe. Yeah, I think I should bet pot here. I decided to check because at this point I think I perceived his range as being like super shitty and that he would probably probe a king here. And I just wanted to, give him a chance on the river to catch something, maybe to probe left on the river. He's 3 out of 4, so maybe this was the reason I checked. Yeah, we'll just go with 5 more minutes, and yeah. And yeah, we got this probe, and here I want to be polarized because I want to get value from kings and aces. And 5xing this, I think, is fine. Okay, we can either bet or check. I think that betting is better because we can easily call a raise. He folds a lot versus 1 bet, so this is where my tendency to check to realize equity, etc. is a mistake, because this is clearly a mistake. He is not raising at all. Even if he is, and he has a 9 here, we can easily call still. He folds versus 1 bet so much, and he donks whenever he has a pair, probably. So yeah, obviously easy bet. And right now we're trying to go for delay to get him to fold some queen x's, jack x's, 10 x's as well, and not giving him opportunity to bluff me on the river. Well, it looks like an obvious fold, but this is a filter of raising on the river, so so it means it's gonna be funny. I mean, it's just a clear fold. Maybe I had some info that he's super crazy, but this is just over adjusting. I don't know. Maybe that he donks whenever he has a pair made me call this, because maybe I thought that he has I don't know, queen high, king high, that I can fold it on the river, because he didn't donk on the flop. So I think that he has never got a 9 and never got a 7. So this might make me thinking about actually floating this with this additional equity, actually, if he has this king high or something. Yeah, and he bet 1 BB, and who is not tempted? Who is not tempted to raise him a bit, at least 100, to make him fold some random stuff that he has? I mean, we will risk 100 to win 400. Can we win it 1 out of 4 times? If it's true that he donks always when he has a pair on the flop, then I think yes. But if it's not true, then I think we are spazzing. I think I chose the click. I don't know if it worked or not. I don't know if someone is even able to fold a king here. A queen maybe yes, but a king. Yeah, I think it's too small. I think 120 is good here. I think 150 is too much. Like, it's fuzzy. But 120, 110, 120 is... we got a fault here. I don't know. It was some weird in-game fault, I guess. But yeah, it's super crazy. I mean, don't do it at home unless you got some super good feelings. I wanted to do some more hands, but I think we can finish with this one. So yeah, but I think 110, 120 is better, just to make sure that he never, calls queens or jacks. Yeah, it's funny actually. But remember that for this hand, there comes at least 5 spaces that you like not think through exactly. Maybe in game I had this, I don't know, maybe it was my A game, and I saw this donks, maybe that I thought that he always bets a pair on the flop or on the turn, and maybe I just came up with this idea, because if we are too fancy, see that it's my second bluff race for bluff for 35 minutes of analysis. So be aware that this is like a rare situation actually, but worth to have it in your game package, game flow, because there are some wrecks that are super hard to play, and we have to be able to raise them on rivers. And this stud fold versus raise river, sometimes there are wrecks that are super red, and there are 7 out of 7 here. So then we know that we don't have to worry. We just call twice with a draw and check raise the river. That's it. Okay, guys, so good luck at the tables. I think that I will come back with some other series. I had a lot of fun. Actually, it was 7 or 8 months of beating Bluff stakes reverse. I hope that we can all do it, and see you at 100 soon. Thank you, guys. Cheers. 10-8.